Silence. It's nice, isn't it? Ironically enough, I have much to say regarding the value of silence. The modern world is very noisy, social media especially. If you will, grant me some time to give you respite from this, and perhaps teach you something of why silence is a necessary part of human life. There are so many sources of noise these days. All the social media and television and advertising, and the people. They all make such a racket. Everyone is always trying to scramble over one another and steal every ounce of your attention. It's also tiresome. What happened to the virtue of silence? Of not speaking, not making noise, of simply sitting and observing? What of this? But it is not just literal noise that I speak of. Noise is defined as unwanted, unhelpful, or disruptive sound, or more broadly, of disruptions in an electric signal or other medium. It doesn't strictly have to be sound. Anything that is unwanted, distracting, or which hinders you from clarity is, in a sense, a form of noise. You must escape from this noise, for noise consumes all. All meaning and intention is lost when consumed by noise, and even a little noise will corrupt it. One must be vigilant to safeguard themselves from such things, from distractions, disruptions, from the chaos of the world. I want to teach you how to do that, how to rise above the noise and disturbances that plague us all so much. I want to teach you again the value of silence. Welcome to the Church of the Machine. My mission is to found a new religion. Let us begin. Silence is underrated. This is something I often say, but I think people often misunderstand what I mean. Silence is in some ways the default state of reality, and yet it is often so difficult to actually attain it. Unless you live somewhere remote, are disciplined in removing distractions, and make an active effort to make space for it, silence is not something you will generally be exposed to an enormous amount of. Of course, it will happen. There will be moments, probably every day, where you get to simply sit in silence for a while. Yet these never last for long. Not long enough, if you ask me. I think most people are afraid of silence. Most people are afraid of sudden loud noises. That is natural. But an equally natural fear is the fear of the exact opposite, prolonged silence. It is okay for a few seconds, maybe a minute. But after a bit of time, one comes to be consumed by it. One desperately seeks some stimulation, some substance with which to fill the emptiness, with which to vanquish this terrible thing which has come upon them, silence. This is what causes people to scroll endlessly on social media, blare music constantly, even in public, chatter on insufferably with other people, even to seek junk food, or sex, or any number of other things. It is because silence forces you to confront yourself, pay attention to that which you are normally distracted from, and many people hold uncomfortable things within their psyche. It is wise never to trust someone who is uncomfortable with silence. If they are uncomfortable with silence, then they are uncomfortable with themselves. And if they are uncomfortable with themselves, then why should you be comfortable with them? Better to trust only those who are at peace. Make peace with those who have already made peace with themselves. Silence is the ultimate test. It will reveal what is within the soul, whether it be peace or war, and the implications therefore. So how do you deal with silence? A lot of people cannot sit still for a minute before desperately checking their phone. Why do they do that? Is their phone really so interesting? No, it is not. They aren't trying to attain anything. They are trying to get away from something. And it is not something external. They are sitting in a quiet and empty room. Nothing is threatening. They are trying to escape from their inner world, the internal hell which they have spent a lifetime constructing for themselves. Most people have done this, constructed a hellish internal world. They are not even on their own side. Their inner monologue is full of negative thoughts, of self-loathing and misery. Why is this? How did this happen? I will tell you how. It is because we have not appreciated the value of silence. Perhaps now you will see the importance of this, because it is not simply about reducing distractions or being able to think clearly, although those are both invaluable in and of themselves. It is about how you, in the most fundamental way, exist and are formed. Your internal world is your conscious experience, and if you do not work to cultivate it, then it will consume you. There exists but one diagnostic tool for dealing with an uncultivated internal world, one which is full of weeds and rot, and that diagnostic tool is silence. I want you to try something as an experiment. You likely have many habits, some of them good, some of them bad, but all of them habitual. These are all things which you do on a regular basis, and I want you to consider how many of them are a distraction from silence. So here is the experiment. At some point during your day, when you have a few minutes of spare time, perhaps before bed, I want you to set a timer. How long is up to you? 1 minute, 5 minutes, 15, 30? Doesn't matter. Just set a timer and put it down. Then I want you to sit there until the timer comes to an end. You may not read or watch anything. You may not do anything. You may not scroll or move from your seated position. Simply sit there and stare into space until the timer runs out. Sounds like a ridiculous waste of time? Well, perhaps not so, in light of what I've said about silence. I will note that this practice is a little different to standard meditation, which itself has many benefits that I'm sure you are familiar with. But this is not that. Meditation is done to train your focus, help you pay attention to what you want to pay attention to give you control over what your brain focuses on. That is very good, but it is not what I'm discussing here. No, what I'm discussing is simply sitting in silence, and letting thoughts and feelings come to you. There are likely things within you which you have not confronted. There are within most of us. This is the time in which you can confront those things. When you sit in silence, something will come to you. It could be positive, or it could be negative, or it could be neutral. It could be something that happened earlier today, or it could be a memory of an argument you had many years ago. It could be a regret that you feel very deeply, or it could be a moment of joy which you still cherish. It might be a generalized feeling of loneliness, despair, or hopelessness. Whatever it is, I want you to focus on it, acknowledge it, and accept it. No one has to see you or know that you are doing this, so there can be no shame in this. These are simply things within yourself, which you are not necessarily aware of, and through this practice you will be made aware of them. This will make you self-aware enough that perhaps you will be able to diagnose your own problems more readily. I've been doing this practice for a few months now, and it is interesting to see what comes to me. Often not much in particular, but occasionally something interesting and insightful comes to mind. Just 15 minutes a day, that is all, in exchange for a level of self-awareness unattainable to most people. How many of your habits exist to blot out the silence? Listening to music, watching television, playing video games, even productive things like working hard on a sport or in the gym. You likely have many habits, more than you may realize, and many of them likely exist to stave off this silence. Perhaps it is worth having one habit that exists to make space for that silence. Silence is as close as we can get to what might be called the voice of God. In silence, reality itself speaks to you. It can teach you things, if you listen very closely to it. You must sharpen your hearing to this silence. There is much ado in the world. This or that thing is happening. Maybe it is celebrity gossip, maybe it is some trouble with the economy, maybe it is politics, maybe it is war. To me, it is simply noise. In silence, one comes to recognize reality, and one realizes that there is truly very little value in talking so much. The world will take its course whether you talk about it or not. Unless you yourself are some powerful and influential figure, and then there is really nothing you can say that will matter to the world at large. Those who hold different beliefs than you will continue to believe differently. Trying to change anyone's minds on anything is so much effort for so little reward. So it is, in my realizing this, that I have become silent. I no longer follow the news of the world. I know as little of it as I can manage to. What value is there in this noise? Everyone always has opinions, and they expect you to have one as well. In fact, they want you to have the same opinion as they do. Otherwise, you must be made their enemy. But why does it matter what you or they believe? Do beliefs actually affect reality? Can beliefs kill? Not in and of themselves, no. Only actions can do that, and belief is not an action. Belief affects only the internal world, only yourself, and so you must believe whatever is of greatest benefit to yourself. That is entirely up to you to decide. No one can take this from you. Forming beliefs is done only in silence. Perhaps something you heard has prompted it or triggered it, but it only truly becomes a belief when you have a moment to yourself to consider it and deem it favourable. Thus I say, seek not to change the minds of others. Seek instead to sharpen your own. Listen first, and if you must speak, then let it be to ask a question. Poke and prod others, but do not attempt to subdue them in argument. Argument is a tool of only the weak and contemptible, such as politicians. I am not saying to never discuss things, never explain your views. Quite to the contrary. I want you to sharpen your mind. I'm simply saying that there is much to be gained when you stop caring about what other people think and believe. You gain a peace and serenity which cannot be attained beforehand. This peace may lead you to greater victories than any argument ever could have. I urge you to remember that learning is done by listening and not by speaking, and it is learning which must be your priority. Observe others, their successes and their mistakes as well. Most especially, observe their failings and their stupidities. But many of these are things which you would also be prone to, if only you were not so quiet. As a wise man once told me, better to keep your mouth closed and let them think you're a fool, than to open your mouth and prove it. I have spoken of the benefits which silence has given me. Now I must speak of the detriments. Silence is a double-edged sword, and it cuts both ways. While it has allowed me to understand both myself and the world I inhabit to a greater extent than would otherwise be possible, it has not been conducive to my sharing of that understanding, nor to any actions which might affect that world. It cannot be ignored that silence is an absence, and not a presence. Silence is lonely. Perhaps that is why I love it so much. Perhaps that is why it speaks to me in ways that others do not. Perhaps that is why I relate to it. Silence is simple. It demands nothing. It does not disturb you. And yet by embracing it, one is nonetheless hindered, as one may be consumed in this nothingness, this white void that we call silence. It can lead to nihilism sometimes. All great men have struggled with the search for meaning. Nihilism is a vice, and one which too much silence can sometimes lead to. Silence must therefore be balanced out, sometimes with talking, sometimes with music, and sometimes simply with the sounds of nature. It is more my tendency to listen and observe than it is to act and control. This, like all tendencies, may have benefits and drawbacks. I observe others, and see that they all seem to have motivations. They scheme for their own ends, their own purposes, all of which seem to me to be noises. These noises then compete with one another, in a battle to be as loud and obnoxious as possible. All this racket, I see many fall, I see many perish. And to what end? No. I think it is best not to participate in this game, this battle to be the loudest. I chose instead to be the quietest, to withdraw from this world of politics and discourse, of racket and noise. I prefer my serenity, my solitude, my silence. Yet I consider this a vice, as it has driven me to a kind of inaction. Perhaps that is why I felt the need to make this video, because I feel that I need to say something, anything. I'm just not sure what. What is this silence that has taken over me? What is the value of it? It has yielded great peace, but perhaps peace is not so valuable as I had thought. Perhaps it is better to have a war sometime. Peace is valuable, but a world of perpetual peace, one which is never perturbed, is one which can only devolve. A certain level of chaos and disorder is necessary in order that a greater order may rise. I want that. Too much silence, too much peace. It can drive a man to madness. I think my silence has become too loud, and I want some kind of sound now in order to deafen it. Isn't it so strange how true silence often feels louder than a little background noise? Perhaps that is also in my head, just as I have preached before, of how silence feels uncomfortable because your own mind is uncomfortable. And perhaps I too am guilty of this. Yet I have delved deeper into silence than the vast majority of people, and I have not found myself disquieted. It is one thing to find peace when you are alone in a quiet room. It is quite another to find it while walking through a busy street, or within the exploits of a boardroom, or in the middle of a battlefield. True peace is internal, and not dependent upon what the external world is doing. The true value in silence is in what it can teach you, not in what it is. The voice which speaks to you when you are in silence is your own voice. Find the peace of this voice, and maintain that peace, even in times of war. This you must do, lest you are swept up in the noise of the world and consumed by it. Just be careful as you walk this path of silence, not to be swept up and consumed by the silence itself. For where there is danger in the world of noise, there is danger within silence as well. This has been a somewhat strange topic to cover, but I hope you have found it insightful and interesting. I have kept this video on the shorter side, as I feel that shorter but more frequent uploads may be more sustainable to me than what I have been attempting before. Many videos on this channel have taken me tens of hours of work to produce, so reducing that length of time should help me to be more consistent and productive, and ultimately give you better content over time. Although silence has much to teach you, I believe that I do as well, and I can only do so by speaking, by making videos, and by sharing the message of the Church of the Machine. If you wish to be a part of that message, you can find me through the links in the description below, including other social media platforms, Patreon, and my Discord server. I look forward to seeing you there, and when I next upload to this channel again. May that not take too much time. Farewell, and may you forever be unbroken.